guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Brittany. Today we're going to be discussing mistakes that I made on my last Disney trip and tips and tricks so you don't make those mistakes on your next Disney vacation. If you like this video or our channel, please give us a like and subscribe. And let's get started with today's video. So starting out this trip, we gave ourselves plenty of time to plan. We start planning of about July or August of the year before. So, we had barely just under, not that long, like less than a year to plan it, but we were able to get everything planned. We found our rental house in December, paid the deposit. In March, we, bought our tickets, bought our plane tickets, bought tickets for the parks, and we paid off the rest of the rental house. And then in April, we did like our fast pass reservations and dining reservations and, just last minute things. And then the remainder of the months we spent, just getting everything together for the trip. So originally my husband and I, we had a morning flight. We had a flight that was like 7:10 or something like that. So we had to have everything packed. I was up a full 24 hours from the day before we left until we arrived. And it was some last minute packing. I totally admit that I did not have everything packed, so that definitely set us back. I also had to work that day. I had just started a new job like the month before. I was a manager, and my husband was off that day, so he was trying to, get all the last minute things checked off my list and, do last minute laundry because, going through moving boxes because we had also just moved into a new apartment at the beginning of that month. And he was getting everything together last minute, plus dealing with 2 toddlers and, handling everything himself. And then I was the closing manager, so by the time I got off, I was trying to get, last minute things organized how I wanted it because I couldn't explain to him how I wanted it, so why I had to. I'm a control freak, whatever. So trying to get everything last minute done. Definitely don't recommend it. We left some things behind that we needed. It wasn't deal breakers, we were able to go and buy it when we got to Florida, but some things I made custom shirts for the family for Winter Magic Kingdom, and I left my dad's shirt and my youngest son at the time, his shirt there at home, and then also his swim trunks. We ended up buying him new ones, but he had matching swim trunks that matched my oldest son and my husband, and couldn't find them, and it was just a disaster. And then rushing, trying to get everything together, overestimating my time. We ended up, making it to the airport, but having to go through the line because our 2 boys at the time were riding as lap children. So we had to check in and show proof of the birth certificates. And then we had to check our strollers and our car seats, our bags, our pack and play. And we were just rushing through the airport. It was so stressful trying to get through that and then get through security. We did make it to the flight, but we were one of the last people to get on the flight. So we flew Southwest, so there's not assigned seating, but we didn't get to sit together. I sat in one row, and then my husband was a row behind me, off to the side. So we could turn and talk to each other, but we weren't sitting next to each other. So, it was our boys' first flight, and they didn't get to experience that together, but they were little, so it was only a big deal to me. But it was definitely super stressful. I was sweaty from rushing and running, trying to make it in time. And it was just, I'm holding a baby and kind of sitting next to a stranger, and I'm just very self-conscious of oh my gosh, I'm hot and sweaty. And then, I'm holding this baby, and my seat neighbor was really nice, but she was very kind. She was talking to my son, but I was just very, rigid because I didn't want to be too close and get in her personal space, whatever. And if we were sitting next to each other, it wouldn't have been so bad if I was sitting next to my husband. So just us are barely making it on time to the airport and not giving ourselves enough time to be there early where we didn't have to run to our gate and rush to be there. That was a lot. We did rent a car. That was stressful in itself. When we landed, we didn't have too many issues except for the fact that like our son, our middle son, his car seat was put on a different flight. So we had to hang on the airport and wait for that flight to land to get his car seat. And then there was some snafu with the rental car. It was a mess up. I had left my debit card with my name on it or my ID. I can't remember the time, but I left something. And so we were trying to switch it over into my husband's name. Even though we had the same bank account, my card has my name on it, his card has his name on it. And it was just a whole mess. They wouldn't let him, use his name or whatever, because they were like, well, it's under your name, so you have to have the ID to match the debit card or something like that. So we had to cancel out that reservation, start a whole new reservation when I had the rental car like booked weeks ahead of time. So all you were supposed to do was just go pick your car up, show all your information, get your keys, boom, and go. But there was a whole snafu with that with the rental car. Thankfully one of my sisters, she also had a morning flight, so she landed probably like about 10-15 minutes after we did. And she was there, so just trying to wrangle all the kids and everything. So we were all able to help each other out, since her husband wasn't flying until the next day. It was just a hot mess, but once I said we were able to get the rental car, and then again we had to wait for our son's car seat to come in off the next flight. And then we had an issue with some other person whenever we were loading our son into the car seat. Some man was like honking his horn and like yelling at us like we weren't even in the way. I don't know what his deal was, so that was stressful on top of it, dealing with someone like that. And I just wanted to hurry up and get out of the airport. It was a lot. Once that was all settled, then we found out our rental house. They were like, oh, the previous guest, they had a late checkout. So they're still cleaning it. So it wasn't ready as early as we thought. So, we had to kind of drive around. We got lunch, hung out with my sister. I think my sister, I went to like a grocery store or something. And then we just hung out outside the house until it was clean. So the rental house that we had, each unit, and when I say unit, I mean like, each, like, myself and my husband, or my sister and her husband, or my cousin and, her kids, each unit, like little mini family grouping, had their own room. Some of us share bathrooms, but it wasn't that big deal. It was a huge house, gorgeous house. There were some minor things that were wrong with it. They weren't deal breakers. It was just like when we first got there, the AC wasn't working. Florida heat is really hot, but we're from Texas, so we're kind of used to the heat. So it was just inconvenient. Our garage didn't open, so like no one could get to park in the garage. So we all had to like park in the driveway and like on the street, and like everybody had a rental car. Like I had a rental car, my sister had a rental car, my parents drove down in their car, my cousin, they both had cars. So there was a lot of cars to be parked outside, and it would have helped if some of us could park in the garage, but it wasn't that big of a deal. There were like minor cosmetic things, like one of the doors were kind of like messed up. There was like slight damage to things that we have to let them know, like, hey, we didn't do this was the people before us or whatever. But like I said, all in all, the house was gorgeous. There was plenty of space to spread out. There was sprawling downstairs. There was a huge dining room table that could fit like 20 people. We had our own like private covered pool. We had a grill out there. There was a huge outside patio table that everybody could fit at. Then we had a kitchen, a living room, TV. Upstairs there was a game room with a TV and a PlayStation. Every bedroom had a TV. There was a pool table. There was like a little mini bar area. It was a really nice house. It had a laundry room, and then there was also laundry in the garage. So it was like 2 washers, 2 dryers. They had toilet paper and everything, like to get you started. We ended up like towards the end having to go buy like more toilet paper, and we were going to the store anyway because we had been planning on making our own meals. But the house was like, it was really nice. It was a really nice house. We were like not too far from the clubhouse where all the clubhouse amenities were. We had a beautiful lake like next to us. it wasn't too far from the parks. We were really far from the airport. We're probably like 40 minutes from the airport. But from like the actual Disney, like outskirts of the park, we were probably like 20-30 minutes. It wasn't too far. And you know, we weren't far from like shopping centers, we weren't far from restaurants, we weren't far from like Target and Walmart and Sam's Club. There was a Dollar Tree. Like, we were in a good convenient area. Like, our rental home wasn't like smack dab right where all the things were, so you have to deal with like traffic and everything. It was kind of like, you know, set far back, but we were like a 5 to 10 minute drive from everywhere that, you know, we needed to get things from, like if we had to go to the store or anything. Like I said, they came out the same day and fixed the AC, so we weren't like without AC for days or anything like that. Like, the little mini issues, they weren't too severe, they were fixable, and it was nice. Like I said, I wish there were some issues that didn't arise, but it wasn't, to me, it wasn't that big of a deal. So what plus side of staying off property, we were able to cook our own meals and, you know, able to buy like bulk amount of groceries. Like, we bought, you know, cases of water, cases of like Powerade, you know, cases of juice, and you know, everything in bulk. So Disney does allow you to bring your own food and, you know, beverages into the park. They just can't, of course, be in like glass containers, and you can't bring like loose ice or dry ice. So, you know, we had like a little cooler backpack, and, you know, we had like froze bottles of water to count as our ice packs and everything. So we were able to, you know, like I said, save money that way, where we could bring our own snacks and everything into the parks. We were able to cook our own meals, so we didn't have to eat out much. We did eat out a few times, but for the most part, you know, my dad barbecued one night. We would fix like big breakfasts for everyone, big lunches, you know. We had late night movie night where we like just got a whole bunch of like snack foods and everything. So staying off property was a blessing, or plus to have like a kitchen and everything. Definitely saved us some money that way. Another thing that was a plus was, like I said, the clubhouse with the little mini water park and the lazy river. You know, had huge outdoor games. It had like an adults only swim up bar. You know, had cabanas. It had an arcade in it and everything like that. So, you know, we spent one of our days there with the kids. You know, we took them swimming. I mean, they had their own pool in the back, but still, we didn't have like a huge like water slides and like the buckets to drop water on you in the lazy river and all of that stuff. So they had a blast with that. Also, there was an arcade for the older kids to play games. You know, there were some outdoor games. There was a little volleyball area. There was basketball courts and everything. So we also got to do that, and that was a lot of fun for like an off-park day. We only went to 2 parks. We went to Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom. And we did a character meal. We did Ohana's, and we went to Disney Springs. So we didn't have like a lot of like things that we were gonna do. Mainly some stuff we didn't know about. I mean, like, we did our research before, but then, you know, afterwards we found out like, oh, they had this, we didn't do that, blah 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 blah. Another thing we did was like staying off property. You don't necessarily need magic bands, but we did get magic bands just because it was easier to, like, you know, your tickets are on there. For fast passes, you can just tap it at the turnstiles and everything. But if you're staying off property, like, it's not needed. If you're staying on property, you know, you can use it as your room key if you want to make charges to your room. Like, if you eat at one of the Disney restaurants or something, or you buy something in gift shops, you can, you know, put it on your magic band or things like that. So that is something we did. We did go ahead and buy magic bands even though it wasn't needed. The character meal that we did, we ate at Ohana's, and I loved Ohana's. It was so much fun. Lilo and Stitch is like my all-time favorite Disney movie, so the characters there were Hawaiian Mickey, Lilo, and Stitch. Pluto was also there. He didn't walk around the restaurant. When we first got there, he was kind of like out where you can take pictures with him, like you had to line up and they would take pictures or whatever. And then I think towards the end of our meal, he ended up like kind of like walking through. It was super cute. The characters went to each table, so the kids were able to get their autographs. The food was served family style, where it's like all you can eat, but like you don't get up from the table. The food is like brought to you in like these big huge like skillet platters, and it had like, you know, breakfast potatoes, sausage, ham, eggs. You could request bacon. It also came with like biscuits and of course Mickey waffles. They also have this pog juice, this like passion fruit orange juice, guava. I have to look up, but it was really good. And then of course there was, if you want a coffee, you have coffee and things like that. We went with 2 toddlers, so 2 and under, as you know. You get into the you don't have to buy a ticket for them, and you also don't have to like buy a meal for them. They're allowed to eat off their parents' plate. So really only pay for like myself and my husband. And it is pretty expensive. I think we spent probably like $80 for us two. My sister, she spent like $200 because she paid for, actually well over $200, because she paid for, you know, herself, or her and her husband paid for them, and then they're my oldest nephew. They didn't have to pay for their youngest son, my youngest nephew with them, and then they paid for my parents' meal. So she actually might have paid more than that. It was pretty expensive, but you know, she said it was worth it to see, like, you know, her boys are so happy. They got to, you know, participate in the parade. There was like a little parade in the middle of breakfast where, you know, they gave the kids maracas, and like Mickey and Lilo and Stitch are like walking around like to one of the songs from Lilo and Stitch, and everybody's dancing and whatnot. Our waitress was really nice, and like, you know, they just keep bringing the food out. If you want it as much as you want. 2 parks we did was Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom. Now in Magic Kingdom, we did the after hours event, so it wasn't where we did like, you know, the actual like park during the day. We did the after hours event, which is like a hard ticket event where you get to be in the parks after they close. It's not the same thing as like if you're staying at the resort and they have the extra magic hours where, you know, you can either go into the park before it opens or stay after it closes, but that's only to hotel guests. When we went last summer, they were doing Villains after hours, which is kind of, if you've heard of like, you know, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party or Mickey's Very Merry Christmas, along the same lines of that. It's a hard ticket event where you have to have that ticket to be there, and you get to be there after the park closes. They did allow you to come in before park closed, so you didn't have to wait until like park closing. I think the day was like 8 or 9 o'clock. We got to go in at 7, and we stayed there until 1. And then also on top of that, you know, you got unlimited non-alcoholic bottled beverages, so like bottled water, like sodas, unlimited popcorn, unlimited Mickey ice cream bars, and things like that. So we did that instead of the, you know, regular outing of the day. It just seemed like it'd be a better deal or something to experience it. And then we also visited Disney Springs. Now we visited Disney Springs the same day we did Ohana's. And in Disney Springs, you know, we kind of like looked around some of the stores, just did a little bit of shopping, but we kind of only stayed in like one part. I know we ended up, you know, my cousins and my sister, they, you know, had issues with tickets, so we had to visit guest relations there, and they had to buy magic bands, and then, you know, we bought tickets for my parents for the after hours event. But we didn't realize there was so much stuff to do at Disney Springs. So Disney Springs, we really didn't do a lot. We kind of like, we went to the Coca-Cola store. We went to some of the high-end like shopping points, and you know, that was it. We didn't do a lot there at Disney Springs. So now moving on to the mistakes that we made. So first mistake that was made on like my end was that I didn't have everything ready in time. So sorry, I'm looking at my notes. You know, last minute shopping and packing kind of like put us behind, where, you know, we were rushing. We had left some stuff that, you know, we needed, that we had to end up spending more money because we had to rebuy it in Florida. You know, that put us back where we didn't arrive early like we planned for our flight. So we were behind schedule, and that also put, you know, like kind of, you were just feeling rushed. And I don't know about you guys, but when I feel rushed, like I get irritated and irritable, and it was just super stressful. Not a great start to our trip. Another thing was that we all arrived at like different times. We kind of like came in like staggered after each other. The closest in flight was my sister, Ashley, and myself. Like, our flights were like, I think, spaced out, like they arrived probably like 15 to 20 minutes within each other. And then, my other sister, Aaliyah, they had a late afternoon flight, so they didn't get there till late afternoon. My cousin Martika, she and my aunt, they drove down, so they got there, right after we checked into the house. My other cousin Erica and my other aunt, they had a late flight, so they didn't get there until that night. My parents and my sister's husband didn't get there until the next day. So that kind of threw things not too much. Like, I don't think we were going to be doing too much the day of, but it still would have been nice to, all arrive at the same time. So, we could just like, maybe like have all went to dinner together or something like that. But, it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was definitely something we kind of regret that we all didn't come in together at the same time. Another mistake was that I did not break in my shoes well enough. We had bought like new Nikes. I don't even know what type of Nikes. I just know that they were black and white Nikes. On one of our shopping trips for Disney, my husband had bought a new pair of Nikes. We had bought our oldest son, he was walking, so we had bought him a pair of Nikes. Our middle son, he was still a baby. He was like 8 months, so he didn't have any shoes. Like, he had socks and like we didn't have to worry about breaking his shoes in, basically. And like, I had wore them a couple times after buying them, but I was like, oh, I just want them to be nice for when we go. Like, I don't want them to be, messed up or ruined. And I definitely regret that, because when I finally did wear them, we went to Animal Kingdom, my feet ended up hurting. Like, we didn't even stay at Animal Kingdom for like the whole time. Like, we ended up leaving at like 8, my husband and I did, just because like my feet were hurting so bad. I ended up getting blisters just for me not breaking my shoes in. And then also like the shorts I had, like chafing from my thighs rubbing together. Like, I was so sad that like we had to leave early. Like, I was trying to tough it out, but I couldn't. Like, we had been there since like 7 a.m. Like, we woke up at 5 a.m. to get there at 7 a.m. or get there before 7 a.m. Because we were rope dropping to get in the parks, so we could ride, Pandora or whatever, Flight of Passage. So I definitely regret that I didn't break my shoes in, because that caused me to not stay, where I missed out like the light show that they had on the river at night. I missed seeing Pandora at night. It's a whole different experience, with everything lighting up around you. And then like just not be able to experience the last things that like my sisters and my cousins and they did, because like it was too much and I had to end up leaving early. Another mistake that we made was that we did not fully explore Disney Springs, and for that matter, we also did not fully explore Animal Kingdom, and we didn't get to fully explore Magic Kingdom. Like, there is so much that we just simply did not know that they had. There's like Disney Springs, first of all, is huge. There's so much to do. Like, you can make that a day on its own. Like originally we went to Ohana's for breakfast that morning, and then afterwards we went to Disney Springs, and we only stayed in like one little area where it was like, the higher end shops, the Coca-Cola store, like Planet Hollywood, like those things. There was like multiple things. Like, there was a huge World of Disney store. There was, all kinds of different stores that like we would have thoroughly enjoyed that we didn't check out because we didn't know they had it. They had a section that had like live music. They had like this big giant like hot air balloon where it takes you like, up in the sky, like not where you're flying off, but it raises you, I forgot how many feet in the air. There was just a lot that like we didn't fully do our research on Disney Springs. We thought it was just like, oh, like just little stories, but there was so much to do that we didn't know about. And so we regretted not spending more time there. Now the NBA experience is open. It wasn't open when we went, but that's something that they have for us to check out too. But it was just a lot that we didn't do there. Animal Kingdom was another park that we didn't expect that it had so much that we did not check out because we didn't know about it. Animal Kingdom has a zoo that we didn't know about. There are different activities for kids that we didn't know about. Like, we were like, oh, I love animals, so the park was really fun for me. But, the kids were kind of like, the older kids were like, this is kind of boring. Like, outside of like, Pandora, like, there's nothing to do. This is kind of boring. And there was a ton of things they could have did that they would have had a lot of fun with that we simply didn't know about. Like, don't get me wrong, we had a great time. We experienced, things that we had never experienced because that was, our first time going to Animal Kingdom. We had never been. Like, I'd been to Disney as a kid, but just like Magic Kingdom. I hadn't been to any of the other parks. And it was literally my dream to go to Animal Kingdom. I remember when Animal Kingdom first opened and we wanted to go. Well, I wanted to go so bad just because like I've always loved animals. And so for me it was a dream come true. Like, we didn't realize that like we weren't feeling sad that we missed out because we didn't know we missed out until we got home and then watching, all the YouTube videos and doing research and realized we missed out on a lot at Animal Kingdom. And then as far as Magic Kingdom, since we did do the after hours, we did miss some of the rides. Like, not all rides are available during the after hours. We tried to squeeze in some things that weren't going to be open before, like when they let you in before at like 7. So before the park officially closed for the after hours event, there are a lot of things that we didn't see because, we thought we knew everything, but like we didn't do research. Like, Magic Kingdom has changed so much from the last time like we went. Last time we went, I was like 10, it was 2000. And so there was a ton of things that like we missed out on because we didn't know. We thought we knew everything, and then we did research, but not like a lot of research. So, regret that. And then also mistakes were made. I spent a lot of time in the gift shop when we were at Magic Kingdom, like trying to pick out like perfect ears and souvenirs for whatever reason. And, you just think, oh, I have time. The park doesn't close till 1. And then you look up, I've been in the store for like an hour and I wasted precious riding time. So like I didn't get to ride any of the rides that I wanted to ride. I didn't get to ride Space Mountain. I didn't get to ride Splash Mountain. I didn't get to ride Big Thunder Mountain. I didn't get my Dole Whip. There was a lot of things I missed out on just because I was just like spending so much time in a gift shop, and it's like I can buy this stuff online. Like, and then also I was kind of like taking it all in and just enjoying the moment, which I don't regret enjoying the moment, but I do regret that like, I should have been riding those rides that I wanted to ride instead of just like spending so much time looking for like the perfect set of Mickey ears. And I don't even know where my Minnie ears are. They're somewhere. I don't even know where they are. I spent all the time looking for them. So things that we're doing differently this time is we're staying on property. For starters, just to experience it. Like I said, we originally started out planning like, searching for a rental house, but originally there was supposed to be a bigger group of us going and we couldn't find a house that was going to fit everybody. Now, a few months into the planning, the group's pretty much dwindled down back to the original group, with the exception of this time my cousin's husband is going and my other cousin, her husband's going, and we're adding 2 new babies. But before that, we were, couldn't find a rental house that was going to fit everybody. So we're like, yeah, you know what? Let's just stay on property. Plus, it's like an experience like I've never experienced staying on property. We're going to be staying at Pop Century. So, it should be a lot of fun for the kids. And, we get to experience like that extra Disney magic. As of right now, Disney said that they're not doing like the extra benefits the guests normally get. Like, they're not going to be doing, complimentary magic bands next year. As of right now, they're not doing fast passes, so we don't have that advantage of if you're staying on property, you got the 60-day out window versus the 30-day out window for fast passes if you were staying off property. And they're not doing extra magic hours. Fingers crossed, things get much better, so they'll go back to adding those extra benefits. So, we will get to have all those things, but even without it, it's still going to be nice to just stay on property, and not leave that Disney bubble. The kids are going to love the hotel. Like, there's so much to see there. It's right across from Art of Animation, so, we'll be able to check out the grounds there. If, they lift their rule of no resort hopping and things like that. And plus they have Magical Express that picks you up from the airport. So, as of right now, it's kind of a toss-up if we're going to rent a car, because Disney does offer transportation if you're staying on property to, you know, all the Disney parks and Disney Springs. And at first we were saying, you know, we don't need to rent a car, we can save money, but with the social distancing, we might rent a car. We're still going back and forth about it. Another thing I'm going to be doing differently is I'm going to try to have everything packed at least a week before we go, and like, so it's not last minute rushing, throwing things in suitcases. I would have everything set, you know, outfits already put together, planned out, and bag, little packing cubes in the suitcase, boom, like it's a hospital bag and I'm, you know, about to have a baby or something. Like, have it already ready to go, where we don't have to worry about, did I leave this behind, or I left this behind, or I didn't bring this. I know, like, I went to Bath and Body Works and had bought, like, you know, full-size bath stuff, and I ended up forgetting that I had, like, my full-size, like, body wash. I had put it in my purse because it was like grabbing last minute things, and I forgot to put it in my checked bag. So of course I had to throw it away, and it was like brand new, hadn't even opened it. So I want to have everything packed where, you know, we're not leaving anything behind, nothing important or anything like that. Another thing we're doing is we're all going to be doing morning flights. Everybody's flying this time. Nobody's driving. Well, you know, under the circumstance of hopefully things will clear up where it's, you know, not going to be so scary to fly. But, you know, the plans are everybody's going to be flying, my parents included, and we're going to all do morning flights. We're all in various parts of Texas. Like, my husband and I were in San Antonio. My sister, they live near the Austin area. My cousins live in Houston. My parents live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, as long as my sister, she also lives there. So we're not going to all, like, be on the same, like, actual flight as of right now, but we all are flying and we're all doing morning flights. So we all should arrive at the airport around the same time, maybe not the exact same time, but, you know, within like an hour or so of each other or less than that, versus some people are coming in like, you know, 5 or 6 hours later. Some people are coming the next day, just so we can kind of all be together and spend more time together. Another thing that we're doing different is we're planning better. We're doing like thorough research, so we're not missing anything. So we know, like, okay, we're going to the parks on this day, and, you know, everybody has their must-dos they're gonna do, so we're like, you know, trying to plan everything out. Like, we know what we're doing on each day. Also, the reason we're doing that is because, like, our schedule is going to be much more packed than it was last year. This year we're doing 3 parks, a water park, and the NBA experience, a character meal. We possibly are looking at Universal Studios, but we don't know if we're gonna have time. But that is on the radar, just because we're gonna be doing Animal Kingdom, Magic Kingdom, and Hollywood Studios. We originally were gonna do all 4 parks, because they were doing a 4-park Magic deal, but unfortunately they're not at this time. And Epcot also has a lot of construction and stuff going on, so we're like, we'll come see Epcot, you know, when it's done. So if we had to leave a park out, that was the park that was going to be left out. But since our schedule is going to be so packed this time, you know, we're planning everything down to the T so we don't miss out on anything. You know, we're doing our research. Well, this park has this, and that. So we are knowing what we want to do before we get there, and so pretty much everything like is organized and everything, so nobody's missing out or, you know, going back home like, oh, I didn't get to do that, and, you know, like having that FOMO or feelings of regret. Well, that does it, guys. I know that was a super long video. I just wanted to make sure I was going into detail and you guys know the things that we did on our last trip and the mistakes that we made, and so you don't make those mistakes on your Disney trip. Like I said, if you like this video, you know, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be submitting new content to help you plan your Disney vacation. Also, we're going to be doing some giveaways for Disney prizes. So until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye.